What's the most unforgettable lesson a 5-year-old cancer survivor taught you? I'd been a paramedic for 7 years when I got the call that changed everything 5-year-old in respiratory distress. Address on Pine Street. Nothing I hadn't handled before. I walked into that house expecting the usual, maybe an asthma attack or pneumonia. Instead, I found Liam sitting on his mom's lap, wearing this ridiculous superhero cape made from a Pokemon bedsheet. Kid was pale as paper and struggling to breathe, but he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Are you here to save me again?" Again? His mom, Rebecca, was crying so hard she could barely talk. She finally choked out that Liam had been in remission for 8 months after beating leukemia. This was supposed to be over. In the ambulance, most kids would be screaming or unconscious. Not Liam. He grabbed my sleeve with this tiny hand and whispered, "Hey, can you keep a secret?" I leaned down. "Sure, buddy. I think I'm gonna die again tonight. But don't tell my mom, okay? She already cries too much." My throat went tight. I'd heard dying kids say scary stuff before, but something about how calm he was freaked me out. "You're not gonna die, Liam. We're taking good care of you." He shook his head like I was the dumbest adult he'd ever met. "You're lying. Grown-ups lie all the time to make kids feel better. My mom told me the chemo wouldn't hurt, but it hurt really bad. The doctor said I'd feel normal after, but I still feel sick every day." He took this rattling breath that made me want to call ahead and tell them to prep the crash cart. "I lied to my mom last night," he continued. "She asked if I felt okay, and I said yes so she could sleep, but I felt really bad, so promise me something." "What's that?" "Don't lie to my mom just because it makes her feel better. Tell her the truth, even if it hurts. She needs to know real stuff, not pretend stuff." I stared at this kid who was maybe 40 pounds soaking wet, giving me life advice while his oxygen levels were tanking. "Okay, Liam, I promise." We got to the hospital and they rushed him into the ICU. His mom grabbed my arm in the hallway, mascara running down her face. "Is he going to be okay? Please tell me he's okay." I thought about what Liam said, about all the times I'd given families false hope because the truth was too brutal, about how many people I'd lied to because I was too much of a coward to be honest. "Rebecca, he's really sick. The doctors are doing everything they can, but I can't promise you he'll be okay. What I can promise is that they're the best team we have, and they won't give up on him." She nodded, wiping her nose. "Thank you for not lying to me." Liam pulled through that night, barely. When I visited him the next day, he was awake and eating applesauce. "You told my mom the truth, didn't you?" he asked. "How'd you know?" "Because she stopped asking me if I felt okay every 5 minutes. Now she just asks if I need anything." He grinned, this gap-toothed smile that about broke my heart. "That's way better." I drove home that night and sat in my driveway for an hour, thinking about every lie I'd told in my career, the families I'd given false hope to avoid difficult conversations, the patients I'd told everything was fine when it wasn't, the lies I told myself about why I drank too much and never called my own mom. The next morning, I walked into my supervisor's office and requested a transfer to pediatric emergency transport. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "You sure? Kids are harder than adults. That's exactly why I need to do it." I spent the next 6 months learning how to talk to kids without talking down to them, how to be honest about scary things without being cruel, how to answer the questions their parents couldn't handle. 2 years later, I got called to another house on Pine Street, different family, but the same kind of call. 7-year-old with a brain tumor, seizing in his bedroom. His dad cornered me after we loaded the kid into the ambulance. "Doctor, is my son going to die?" Old me would have said something vague about doing everything possible. Instead, I looked him in the eye. "Sir, your son is very sick, and this is serious. But he's still fighting, and that matters. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but I can tell you we're not giving up." He broke down crying, but he also shook my hand. "Thank you for being straight with me." That 7-year-old made it through surgery. But even if he hadn't, his dad would have known the truth. He would have been able to prepare instead of hoping for a miracle that wasn't coming.